I still think Yoru's a good agent. I just think a lot of teams are afraid of using him after his latest nerf. Yeah, it took away a lot of his power, but Yoru went from being the strongest, absolute best agent in Valorant. He got nerfed, so yeah, I don't think he's, garbage, 0% pick rate like we're seeing across every VCT league in the world. I just think that, he requires a little more thinking, and, it's the stigma on Twitter and social media that, oh, Yoru's horrible now and we shouldn't play him, when in reality, I don't think he's that bad. And now, I wanted to wait a while before making this video to see if any other teams would try playing this duelist, but Gen.G are actually the only team to try and play him on arguably, I guess you could say, his best map with all the TPs and funny things you could do and, teleporting between different sites, but no other team has even given it a shot, not even Envy, who has the best Yoru one trick probably in the world. So with Yoru's nerf, obviously his teleports don't last as long and he only gets one flash. Now that does kind of eliminate one of the two playstyles that you can play with this agent, one of which being a chamber-esque role where he can, like walk down long and, get a whole bunch of information for free. And since the gate crash lasted so long, he could literally linger in these areas, like past these lines, and get a ton of free info for his team. He gets a ton of info, or he takes contact if the team were ever to come back, the offense were to come back, and he can teleport out with his life for free. But now because he only has 15 seconds, you can't really do that anymore. It's kind of like a jet dash, waylay, TP, that sort of thing, and you never really see those agents anymore getting stupid crazy aggressive. And now what I do think he can do is play more of like a supporting duelist, like a Phoenix, or he is now the person who sets up an agent on the line so they can TP out and get out, right? Mainly, I guess, chamber, potentially even a veto if set up properly. But I don't think he has the ability to gather all the information on his own like he used to. And then once you set up that agent, you use your gate crash to teleport to the other side of the site. Then once you set up that agent, you teleport across the map to the other site and stack the other site and do that type of thing. Yoru is now more like the fast rotator agent, not so much the I'm going to get a ton of info and you have to push me off this angle agent anymore. And I think there's a bunch of other niche uses for him and a bunch of good, good plays, and you can still get a lot of value out of his ult. And there are still a lot of ways you can get value from his kit, and I think he is still really strong. And in this game that Gen.G plays against Global Esports, I'm going to show you a couple better ways that I think Zinx could have used Yoru and how he could have gotten more value. Starting with pistol, the offense are geared up either to go A or create a lot of pressure in this lane and then do something after, while GE have their Yoru set up over here. And with the fade here, you would think that he's going to get a bunch of info long and try to TP out like we've seen before. And like I just explained, you can't really do that. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The offense, obviously, they're plowing into A, and Yoru has since sent his gate crash. It's basically in spawn at this point, right? And watch when his teammates and lamps take contact, right? They're going to pile into lamps. Neon gets one. Neon hears a bunch more. Neon dies. Now, Yoru, I think, needs to make a decision here. His gate crash does not have a lot of time left, right? So it's very obvious that the offense are committed to short. They are in lamps, and they have taken it. And they continue to push backside. Viper sees all this, and then Yoru decides to teleport with fade and retake through showers, right? Now, imagine for a second, Yoru makes its decision 1 second sooner to take the teleporter, right? So it makes 2 TP Qs. It's fade +1. So the offense think that 2 people teleported, but Yoru's actually in spawn, right? So now your retake becomes a lot stronger because the offense now have to clear showers or fight shower, right? They think 2 people are coming here, right? They killed 1 lamps, right? So I think the offense are thinking that there's only 1 spawn, potentially a max 1 spawn. Or at least spawn is weak because they just heard 2 TP, right? So then they go opt to fight spawn. Now, just imagine for a second in this next clip that Yoru took this original gate crash just a second earlier. Now, don't you think that having a Yoru right around this corner would help Charon fight off this push, right? And then obviously, I don't want to go too in-depth into the round, but Gecko ends up teleporting. They end up sandwiching the Spermstone or trying to sandwich him, but Gecko dies in hookah, and they do end up winning this round, but I do think that Yoru is still capable of playing these mind games, being the trickster that we know him to be. And now, Thinking Man's Valorant did cover this game a few weeks ago, but I do think he missed a couple points. Not so much in this round, but in other rounds, but I think he covered this one pretty well. Here, the defense are going to try and fight shower, Neon and Yoru, right? And Neon and Yoru are going to go for this swing. 2 people are holding from far back on the offense, and they are just going to swing. And go up ahead. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Yoru is now a duelist that is more supportive, where he could have flashed, he could have cloned, and he could have helped Neon take this fight, and then he can go TP and go stack B once the defense has made it clear that, you know, we're 3 stacked A, right? And then he teleports, and now there's a 3 stack B. And he doesn't teleport out. I mean, he could have. He could still get to B fast, right? He still uses his TP. His TP is still up, right? He just chooses not to TP. Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And then the offense are going to retrace their footsteps, go back through shower. They're going to peek shower in a second. And now we're not just going to cover all the rounds that Thinking Man's Valorant did. We're obviously going to cover a little bit more, you know, more in different rounds, right? But the offense are going to peek while Yoru's holding heaven. Time is running low, so he throws his second TP out, which is another thing about Yoru now, is that you have to think about when you're throwing his gate crashes. Before, you kind of could just throw them whenever you wanted, and you usually would just be able to take them. But now players kind of have to wait for like the 50-second mark or like the 40-second mark, or even like the minute mark to throw out their gate crashes to make sure that they are ready to contest the offense no matter which site they're hitting. So he throws out his second gate crash, and you're going to see he peeks short, doesn't see anybody, wants to peek shower, he gets one, doesn't really have to go for the second. He didn't really have to go for it. Watch when he takes these fights. Kills one. I mean, he could TP, but he doesn't. And TMV also made a good point in his video to say that Zinx really isn't like the best Yoru player in the world. Like when you think of Yoru, you think of like Eggster, or you think of like something, right? You don't really think of Zinx as like the world's best Yoru. So I think if this agent's played by some, you know, I don't want to be mean to this guy, but better players, I do think we could see teams get a lot more value out of this agent. So this round, we're going to see the defense set up in a 3-2. I'm going to go ahead and play. The offense are pretty heavy pressuring B. Looks like they're going to split, so Brimstone rotates over, and Yoru stays back to hold A. He waits a few seconds. He doesn't throw his gate crash at the start of the round, but he throws it now so that he can sort of peek out. He can sort of peek and get info, right? And the defense, they successfully stop this A push, right? So this gate crash in a few seconds is about to expire. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit. You just saw it expire there. And now eventually, it doesn't really matter. The offense decide to teleport. They heard, I think it's 2 people teleported, right? So the offense are just splitting B. They hear 2 TP. 2 guys are in this spot confirmed. Now, this is generally like a good time when to throw out your Yoru TP, right? So he throws it out. He expects the offense to be charging through this lane and are going to run at him. But instead, GE don't. They decide to take the orb. They decide to backtrack. And now as Yoru, right, this spot isn't great. It's like a one and done, and it's not easy to get more than one. You have to hold shower. You have to hold short, and it's really hard, especially when the offense are going short. So the offense peek out. Brim's not really holding with Yoru. The offense see him first, and he gets traded out. Again, not really that great, and then the offense end up going B, and then things just get really messy. My point is that when you have this gate crash up, and it's about to expire, you kind of have to make a decision. Especially when you have your flash and clone available, you could still use these things on your own to go make plays, right? Like, your teleport is still back here, and you could still make a play and get out. Why not flash into shower? Be like, hey, nobody shower. Why not send a clone down, use it as a meat shield, and you walk down, you peek shower, you see nobody there. At the very least, like, flashing in a shower I think is good enough, and then you could hold this line, right? You now have a deeper showers angle, you have more information, and your Brimstone can then hold short from a way better angle from in this cubby, right? And I think as a duelist, you still need to be confident to take duels, especially when your TP is running this low. You cannot sit around as Yoru anymore and just bank on your gate crashes being there to bail you out. So not only do you have to keep in mind the new play style that you kind of have to play as Yoru, but you also have to think about your positioning on this agent, because you want to play in good spots where you can throw your gate crash and it'll go far, like go to the other side of the map so that you can go stack other sites quickly. Because this gate crash can't like, you can't like throw it up against a wall like this and then it like slowly goes into spawn, because it's going to expire by the time it gets to like spawn or something. This round isn't good for Yoru. It's not a good look. So the offense are going to start towards like a shower default. They're going to KO knife long or whatever. And Yoru has already burned one of his gate crashes at the start of the round, anticipating a rush, maybe with like a brim ult or something. Yoru has sent his gate crash so that he can go stack A, you know, instantly. And I don't think that's like, I don't really think it's like that bad, especially when the enemy team has like a big ult online. To pre-fire gate crash and just burn one of them is like, okay, they didn't rush. I still have one more gate crash that I could throw later in the round. What I do have a problem with though is Yoru's positioning, because from here, don't you think that a Fade or Viper would be a better agent to put in hookah? Because think about it. Let's say, for example, an attacker walks up, they spot Yoru, Yoru takes a shot, and then what? Like, what happens after that? Like, what's the next step, right? Now, Fade and Viper could pull out a Molly and Molly the choke or seize the entrance. While if Yoru, instead of these two, is playing like on site or like to spot long, like they were either earlier or later, I don't know, he could be in a position to throw his gate crash into spawn so he can rotate a little faster, right? So we're going to go ahead and play out this round. And like I said, Yoru from here can't really throw his gate crash anywhere. He has to like back down, peek out a window, then throw his gate crash, and then it's such a weird angle that it doesn't go far, right? But instead, if he's playing like where Viper's playing or where Fade's playing, he could then again throw his gate crash, and then it'll be on A lot quicker. But that's not obviously not what's going to happen. So Fade ends up getting the kill. Again, Yoru should have been in that position. Neon goes to clear shower. On A, she dies. Now, you know, it's around the 40 second mark. Had Yoru been playing on site after this kill on Fade, or after, let's say, for example, Yoru swaps places with Fade this round, and Yoru instead gets this kill on the long player. He probably drops like Fade did and throws out a gate crash towards A, right? And this Neon dies. Yoru could be here, support the Brimstone. You're now in a 2-2 setup, and it's really not too bad, right? Instead, our Yoru is sitting inside of Hookah, and he throws his gate crash into this corner. Like, what is that going to do, right? So the offense ended up TPing because there's only 1A, and there can only be 1A because Yoru's not teleporting. Brimstone gets absolutely flush out of lamps. He gets locked out with the deadlock wall, and then he just gets dookied on. Obviously traded. But then what does our Yoru do? He decides to flank, and then, like, you know, he gets dinked, and then he tries to flash and run through a molly. Like, don't you think that being an A to help your Brimstone would just be a little bit better? If you know, you got to think about your positioning. And now I don't want to get too technical and change up, you know, like all of Gen.G setups, because obviously they're set up to do certain things, and I want people to think about the way they're playing Yoru. I want people to think about his positioning, right? And on Bind especially, he can abuse these teleporters, right? Now in this setup, we have Yoru and Brimstone fighting for shower, and we're going to see how they fight it. The KO knife goes in, Yoru's backside, he obviously realizes the push is coming, so he throws out his gate crash. And the offense are just duking on these guys. We KO ult, and we do all this. We deadlock ult, right? Yoru's suppressed, so we can't TP out. Like, this isn't an option anymore. I mean, wouldn't you want to swap your Neon and your Yoru so that he can go through the teleporter and then use it? Like, take his TP or something, or like do like some crazy flash play, or send out like a clone through the teleporter, or do something different. I feel like pulling him to, maybe this is a hindsight take. This is like one of the rounds where I don't think it's like, I think I could have cut out of this video, but don't you want to position your Yoru like maybe next to the teleporter so that he could do something crazy? And obviously they go 1-for-1. Fade Night falls through here, which I think is really sick. I don't know. I think that by playing Yoru more close to the teleporter instead of having Neon here, like Neon ends up teleporting instead, right? But again, that just adds on to what I said before. Don't you think it'd be cool to like have Yoru teleporter, then they think 2 are here, and then they're not actually 2 here, there's actually 2 spawn, right? Or something. Obviously Gen.G end up winning, but just because you win the round, it doesn't mean that you've optimized it to its fullest potential. And now this round is going to be similar to what we saw before. I don't think Yoru should be playing in Hookah. I just don't think this makes a whole lot of sense with his way his gate crashes work now. Instead, I think he should replace Brimstone. I think these two should swap, so that if Brimstone sees somebody, he can shoot a molly and stall. Yoru can take a shot and good luck, right? And now, normally being, you know, having Brimstone as a rotator isn't like the worst thing, right? Because you want your smokes to be available on both sides, but when you have a Viper, that's not really the case. I think you'd like smokes on both sides, so keep your Brimstone here, which means keep your Yoru back here so we can do his fancy schmancy teleports. Maybe he could like flash for his Fade or something, or maybe send a flash off this wall for Brimstone to peek or something, right? And then whatever. So the offense, they're scaling up. They're scaling up towards Hookah. They're scaling up Fountain. Yoru sends out his TP. Gecko's going to use Thrash. The Thrash comes in. Yoru baits it out, dodges it. It's so cool, right? Sees, or whatever, Brim ult. And I think that swing is a little ambitious because the guy's stuck in the Seas and the Brim ult's going to get him. There's really just no need to swing. So he ends up getting traded. But imagine if, you know, this is Yoru backside, right? And the defense get pushed off along. Wouldn't you rather have somebody who can flash and decoy through the smokes so that you can actually like flood back into the site and help fight? From here, Yoru's kind of like just doing his own thing, and Brimstone and Fade are kind of like just, I don't know, holding out. They're doing their best. I mean, there's not really a whole lot they could do against an ulted Neon, I suppose. And she pops ult and she's just running it in, KO flash off the wall. And it's like, don't you want somebody who would actually not just run out of a smoke, stim beacon, announce into the world that I'm about to run through the smoke, just stimulated? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Just, you need to think about Yoru's positioning. And like I said, Zinx isn't like the prime, Eggster of Yoru, right? He isn't. In this round, you're going to see it. They're starting in a 3-2, the defense. And the offense, they're going to go A. And now, the defense also on like a really weird bye, where Neon and Yoru are really like the only ones that can like win rounds for their team. So the offense, they're slamming. Neon barely gets out of that molly, by the way, the deadlock molly combo. And now the offense are going, they're going. Yoru decides to TP, right? And Yoru flashes out. He shoots Brimstone in the head. Nice headshot, bro. Like, that's sick, right? We have full showers control. Nice. But pause. Dude, use one of your TPs. You know what I'm saying? Like, after you flash and get one, like, it's really cool, and it's really cool that you took showers, but like, don't you want the ability to escape? But especially after you make some loud announcement teleport play? Again, this guy's not prime Yoru. He's not prime Eggster. So Gen.G ended up winning this round. So again, I don't think Yoru is like the worst agent. I think he could just be more optimized. And in this game, I think I'm sort of showing that there's still a lot of potential for this guy to be played. I don't think he's that bad as people think. And now when I say user gate crashes, I don't mean it like this. So the offense are going A, Yoru's going to play short. And the issue that I have with the way that Zinx is about to play this round is that he hears the offense, he decides to wait a few seconds before sitting on his gate crash, and then he's just holding the smoke. He's just playing in front of the smoke. There may be a gap on the one side that I can't see, but I don't think so. I think he's just holding the smoke in short. The issue that I have is that this gate crash is going to expire pretty soon. It literally just expired, so he has to send out another one. Okay. Again, not too bad because the offense are making a ton of noise in shower, so maybe they go up short, right? Maybe they find something. Again, this gate crash is about to expire. It's about to expire. It's about to expire. It's about to expire, and it expires. Now, what Yoru decides to do is go into his ult and get like a ton of info for his team, right? And he like gets a ton of info. He notices that they're short, right? But when you're using your gate crashes like this, I just don't think that's like the best way to use them, or like the best way to use your ult. I think your team could have used it later in the round, maybe on like a retake or something, especially when you still have, let me rewind this a little bit. Again, we still have a flash and a clone. Why not at the end of your gate crash, right? You're playing in this cubby. Why not jump out of it? Like we used to see Juggernaut jump off the cliff on Abyss and like go get info. He peeks short. Oh, nothing short. Or maybe he jiggles short, right, a little bit as his gate crash is expiring. I don't see anything. And like maybe he walks up and he peeks short and he doesn't see anything. Or maybe he walks up and bounces a flash and just goes for a swing. Anything. I just think that pissing away your gate crashes this early and then never doing anything with them, right? It just doesn't, it's not very great. And now I don't want to sit here and say that like I know everything. Obviously, I'm not a pro player. I sit here in front of my webcam and I make YouTube videos about Pro Valorant. So teams obviously play this agent, or I'm sure they've tried this agent in their scrimmages or in their practices, and maybe Yoru's just not working out the way that I'm saying that he does. But the fact that not a single team besides Gen.G are trying him is kind of sad, right? He throws out the second gate crash, it expires, and I just want to see, let's see, when does he pop this ult? So he pops it at around right when Neon peeks out of hookah, doesn't see anything. We see too short, and as he's ulting, while he's in his ult, the offense decide to push while Yoru can't really help and poop on Gen.G. Whatever. If you do want to see Yoru get used well, watch this video right here and make sure you subscribe or you hate me.